Hey everyone, this is my submission for the Lord of Subsidence Lufenia for the DFFOO Content Creator Challenge, which is a challenge started by Simply Lost for content creators where you have to complete the fight with a randomly selected unit from a previous content creator. So in this case, Cyril did the initial run in the challenge, and after his run, he picked Snow at random, which means that I now have to complete the fight using Snow. I will also be including a link in the video description for both the original challenge posted by Simply Lost as well as the run made by Serial. So do check those out if you want more information on this challenge. So the challenge requires you to complete the current Lufenia stage using the randomly selected unit, in this case Snow. And in addition to that, you are not allowed to swap out the selected unit. So this means that Snow has to remain in the party the entire fight. You can use burst mode, you can use friend units, but if you use a friend unit, you have to swap out one of the other two units for the friend support unit. Alright, so without further ado, let's head on to the battle. See you guys there. Alright, so just a little bit about the party setup that I used and the strategy. When I found out that I had to use Snow to complete the challenge, I really wanted to pick a party that would allow Snow to make use of his tanking capabilities. And this actually means that I would have to allow the bosses' turns to let off their attacks, and knowing that the bosses have fairly dangerous HP attacks in the form of the Reaper Plus attack when they have the blue aura, as well as the Mega Quake ability when they have the full recast bar. My first choice of a party member that complements Snow would be Aerith. Aerith has burst healing in her kit, which will allow me to quickly recover from both the Reaper Plus and Mega Quake ability. And also of course on top of that, she lands the Seal Evil debuff on the bosses, which not only has the bonus 10% HP damage up, inflicting Seal Evil also prevents debuffs that the bosses can actually cast on themselves, which makes the fight much more manageable. On top of that, not many people are aware of this, but the Seal Evil buff that Aerith has on herself also carries a huge minus 60% defense down, which is very valuable on this fight considering the very high defense stat that the bosses have. To round off the party, I needed someone with very strong DPS capabilities because obviously both Snow and Aerith are very subpar when it comes to DPS. So I had a few choices for the third party member, but seeing that I actually wanted to have a run where I allow the bosses turns, I felt that I could do without instant turn or turn hogging characters such as Tidus or Ultimacia or Terra. So I actually ended up choosing Tifa as my DPS. Tifa at least still has some instant turn capabilities in her battle cry and 3 uses of her additional ability, which is quite important in this fight because obviously both Snow and Aerith doesn't have any instant turn abilities beyond their additional abilities. For friend support unit, I was thinking of a few. The challenge though is that I'm not allowed to swap Snow out for the challenge requirement, and I really don't want to swap Aerith out because Aerith herself has the 60% defense down, so on top of all the attack auras, so the moment I swap Aerith out, the other two units will be hitting like a wet noodle. This means that the only unit that I could swap out is Tifa. So for that reason, I selected a Tifa support unit. The idea being that with a Tifa support unit, I actually then have 3 extra users of her LD, and also of course additional battle cry to help manage the orb and provide nice burst damage as well. From 100 to 79%, I used one of my Tifa's LD mini to get access to full throttle, which gives me a few rounds of instant turn abilities without burning too many battle cries, and this was enough to help me DPS down the boss to 79% without too much issue from the Lufenia orb. Coming to 79% to 49%, the Lufania Orb isn't there anymore, so this becomes a more straightforward fight, and Snow is there to tank most of the attacks that the bosses have. At this point, I'm trying to focus down one of the bosses, in this case Tunneler B, and the main reason for that is because I'm using Tifa, who specializes in single target DPS. I wanted to create a scenario where I only have to deal with one Lufania Orb at a time, so hence my decision to focus on one boss at a time. At this point, I'm also keeping a very close eye on the recast bar that the bosses have, because obviously I've already eaten one Mega Quake, and subsequent users will land very painful HP poison debuffs on the party, which I want to try to avoid so that I don't have to waste too many turns healing with Aerith. It is also important to manage the call abilities wisely. For example, I'm using Sephiroth and Gabran call, and both versions of their call will inflict their key debuffs. So in this case, what I do is space out their Silver call and LD call so that I always have their debuffs present on the bosses at all times. I'm also holding off on using Jack's LD call. You notice that I just used it here right before I refresh the other LD calls with Gabran and Sephiroth. If you use Jack's LD call too early, you run into a situation where his debuff falls off, and you really want his debuff present, especially at the last 49% of the boss's health when their defenses are skyrocketed to very high levels. So at this point, I've tanked about all I could with Snow. Both bosses already have a full recast bar, and my goal here is to actually kill off boss B before he lets off the recast ability, so that at the end I only have to deal with boss A, and even if he does let off Mega Quake, I could still at least heal off with Aerith, and I only have to deal with one Leaper Plus and one Mega Quake ability. So this is the reason why I will aim to pop summon to help me finish off one of the bosses, and I also have the friend Tifa in reserves to be able to spam her abilities to quickly finish off boss B. Alright, this is as far as I will go. You'll notice that boss B will have the next turn, and I've actually eaten a Mega Quake from boss A. So if I have to tank a third Mega Quake, it lands a very hefty HP poison ability which takes off 50% of your health each turn, and I really want to avoid that. So for that reason, I popped my summon, and during summon I swapped out my own Tifa unit and bring in the support Tifa. You'll notice that by spamming 3 LDs with the Tifa, you will very quickly deplete the HP of the boss that you're trying to focus down. And after that, if you just have one boss remaining, it gets significantly easier. And the strategy works in this stage also because this stage doesn't have an enrage mechanic, so you can actually kill off one boss and the other boss will not enrage or raise its stats in any further way. Okay, so I'm left with boss A, and boss A also has an empty recast bar, so it's actually quite safe. The only thing here is that I don't want to let boss A get too many turns, because otherwise it will tick off the debuffs that it has. Debuffs in this stage is very precious. Like I said, the bosses have very high defense stat, so if you lose key debuffs such as Sephiroth or Jack's debuff on the boss, your damage actually plummets down significantly. So while it's okay to let the bosses take some turns, I'm actually trying to prevent the bosses from taking too many turns and trying to finish off the boss as quickly as possible here. Alright, so that's it for this challenge. Hope this video was enjoyable, and do check out the other links in the video description to learn more about the Content Creators Challenge. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next fight. Bye bye. Alright, so here I'm spinning the wheel to select the next content creator who will continue on the challenge, and based on the results, the person selected is No Limits. And No Limits will have to use character 79, which is Selfie. Good luck!